Authority, Mr. Obara. He'll be followed by Mr. Kibe and Mr. Gashai. Each of them will have 2 minutes or 3 to say a few introductory remarks before we start the session.
Yet. Or let me use fellow Kenyans.
Sorry, look, if I may just bat in a bit. I need a sound engineer, please. If you could get the guy from a sound so that we can have our mics on, please, wherever you are. Kindly. Regan, thank you.
Yeah, so once again, greetings. My name is Luke Ombara. I serve as Director, Policy and Market Development at the Capital Markets. So when you hear about, when you'll be having discussions about what incentives you have, for example, in investment in infrastructure bond, where you don't pay a tax, or if you're investing in green bonds, those are some of the things we do. But overall, we are the regulator, so besides developing the market or facilitating its growth, we also ensure that your assets or your investments are protected. And it's not just for investors, the entire value chain investment. So if you're an issuer, if you're the one going to issue a bond, whether you're the market intermediary, the one coming in between the investor and the issuer, or if you're the investor itself, you are all covered by the regulator. So I'm glad to engage you, and I'll be telling you a little more about the opportunities that we have in the capital markets. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. My name is Norris Kibe on behalf of Securities Africa. I am here to elaborate as an intermediary the roles that we play as an intermediary in between in the capital markets, in between the issuer, as it was said, and you, the investor, the opportunities that are available in the stock market, the ease at which you can get into the stock market without necessarily going through the normal financial institutions. We'll also talk about their available products, specifically investing in bonds and also investing in balanced funds, the services we offer as intermediaries in the stock market, and also availability of young people coming into the market right now, the stock market, ability to demystify what the stock market is, and the ease of the stock market. Young people for the longest time don't understand or find it difficult to come in the stock market. Our job is to make it easy as financial intermediaries to close that gap and to welcome young money in the stock market. Thank you very much. I'm happy to take you through the process and the products and full value chain as an intermediary. Thank you.
Okay, and Mr. Simon Gashahi, Absa Bank Group, make your introductory remarks.
Thank you, Chairman. Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, all protocols observed. My name is Simon Gashahi. I am a head of Premier and also products for Absa Bank in Kenya. And Absa Bank is here to support the diaspora community from a partnership perspective and also from an introduction perspective. For those who know or those who might not know, Absa was formerly Barclays, and we rebranded in 2020, first quarter of 2020, just when the COVID pandemic hit. And we are very aware that the diaspora community may not have had a chance to come back home and go through that transition. So we are also very purposeful to ensure that the diaspora community in Kenya understands that who Absa is and the name of the brand, as well as what we represent. A bit more about Absa. We are a group based in South Africa, listed in the Johannesburg Stock Exchange, as well as listed in the Nairobi Stock Exchange. Our total asset size is about $97 billion from a group perspective. That's about 14 trillion Kenya shillings. So Absa is a pretty big group, represented in about 12 countries in Africa. so quite a strong business. And our participation with the diaspora community is basically to solve the problem of helping the diaspora community participate more in nation building. We believe that Kenya is one of the strongest markets here in Africa. It's showing very strong growth prospects. And alongside that, we want to participate strongly with the government, with the regulators, the Nairobi Securities Exchange, the CMA Capital Markets Authority, who are also our regulators in terms of licensing for investments, as well as the Central Bank of Kenya, who are our licensee as a bank. And our discussion today will border around then how we are participating. We are really proud to be partners of the Kenya Diaspora Alliance Association, and we'll continue to participate in these partnerships. For those of you who are here and are looking to support or to work with banks to be able to support the diaspora more, whether it's in investments, whether it's in remittances, whether it's in ownership of homes, then our team is here. We have a team outside. I'm here with some of my colleagues, and we will be discussing further how we go into that. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Geshahi. You know, for those of us who stay in Kenya, when we hear billions of dollars, we don't relate to it. But for you guys in the diaspora, I think that's more in your realm. So thank you for telling us about Absa Bank and its profile. So to set the stage, I'll ask Mr. Luke Ombara to make a very short presentation. As you know, the Capital Markets Authority is an important regulator of activity in the capital markets. As the chair of the exchange, they are also our regulators. So I am informed that he has a short presentation that he'd like to make as a means of setting the stage for the conversation we are going to have. Karibu.
Yeah, thank you very much. I'll be very brief. Just an appreciation of the opportunity to be able to talk to you about what our vision is as the regulator of the capital markets. Incidentally, we've just got a new strategic plan. I think we'll be launching it in the next few weeks. And our vision has changed a bit. And one of the elements that it's captured, I'll read it verbatim, the trusted regulator of an inclusive capital markets. And it indeed resonates with this event because to some extent you might feel there hasn't been full inclusion of all the players in the market. And particularly when you're looking at inclusivity, it just doesn't, it does not only limit itself to what products or opportunities are available to diaspora, but it also goes into whether SMEs, both within the country or outside the country, are able to raise capital. Startups are able to raise capital from the capital markets. So I think it's a very apt inclusion as a new vision. But generally, in very brief terms, we intend in the next 5 years to grow the market capitalization. Market capitalization would really mean the total value of debt, equity, real estate investment trusts, and all the 20+ products that we have in the capital market space currently. We intend to grow that by $1 trillion shillings. So at the point that we were developing this strategic plan, we were talking of total market capitalization of 5.6 trillion. That may have reduced because of drop in prices, both in equity and debt, and we intended to push that to 6.6 trillion shillings by 2028. And how do we intend to do that? First, there's that whole ecosystem of the capital markets. We are talking about currently around 60 listed companies. There are very many products. I think you're all very familiar with equity and debt. but we have the latest kid in the block. We have commodities now. We have contracts for difference. That's what we call online forex trading. We have REITs. We have exchange-traded funds. So those are the opportunities that are available for you as the diaspora to be able to mobilize. And we'll again reference the 1 trillion shillings target. We believe from our perspective of capital markets and as the regulator, ours is to be able to provide you with the necessary products, necessary infrastructure, and intermediaries. As we speak today, we have 19 categories of market intermediaries. And the total licensees that we have, I think, as at the end of October, are around 223. So whether you're coming in as a diaspora in form of direct investment in the securities that we offer, or whether you're coming in to take up these roles, whether you're coming in as a credit rating agency, a stockbroker, a REIT manager, a coffee broker, all will be towards pushing that level of investment from the $4 billion that we've been mentioned, that has been mentioned, to 1 trillion. It will call into place intermediaries, issuers, investors, providers of market infrastructures, securities depositories, broker trading platforms, and all that ecosystem. So, and then lastly, there's a new an asset class that has been growing substantially. Actually, from the Capital Markets Authority's perspective, it's really the next front for growth, given the way it's been performing over the years. As at May 2018, we had assets under management from collective investment schemes, or unit trusts, that's a more popular name in Kenya, of 57 billion Kenya shillings. As at September, this had almost increased by 4 times. We are now talking about 207 billion. And incidentally, CMA has also very recently licensed the first 2 funds, what we call diaspora funds. So we believe that would be a very important asset class that you as diaspora may want to look at in terms of driving the growth or deepening the capital markets going forward. Lastly, I wanted to also mention that there are new products that have recently now experienced uptick, and even as we spoke, even as I emphasize around inclusion, you have to ask yourself, if we were able to come up with a diaspora bond, as we are working with the Nairobi Securities Exchange tomorrow or next year, would all of you be able to say you're comfortable taking up that product, especially if you're of the Muslim faith? Because we can say, yes, we're going to come up with diaspora products, but is it inclusive enough? And that speaks to my point around the new product that currently has been approved by the Capital Markets Authority. So we have the first sukuk, or Islamic bond, approved just last month. That is meant to raise 3 billion Kenya shillings, bringing an internal rate of return of 11%. A very interesting thing about this sukuk is that it's really the first true PPP finding its way into the capital markets. Secondly, it's addressing affordable housing, because over 3,000 housing units are being done by the Kenya Defense Forces through a special purpose vehicle, through that sukuk. So it's the first product of its kind. That's a little more inclusive. Secondly, it's addressing affordable housing. And thirdly, it's a PPP. So just my message is, even as we keep meeting over the years, we continue to develop new products for you, all in the name of wealth creation for the diaspora, because we need you. As I conclude, Chairman and Moderator, I would have wanted to share with you some data, but because of the time limit, I just wanted us to appreciate that in the last 3 years ago, we have had a net foreign portfolio outflow of equity of about 85 billion Kenya shillings. Now, the concern about that is because our market largely depends on foreign trade, is that we've seen a persistent bear run over the years. How can we be able to address that problem once and for all? Because even previously, you've had issues of foreign investors leaving, not just because of foreign exchange or whatever, but they have whenever we have the interest rates going up in the US as the Federal Reserve bonds, there's that talk about search for yield. And when they exit, we continue to experience that bear run. So could we, and that would be my appeal as I conclude, be able to address that problem once and for all? As the foreign investors exit, you also have dollars, you also have hard currency that you're able to remit through our capital markets. Our appeal, the products are there, I've already mentioned them to you. Look at yourself, and I speak as the moral cop is here. It should be a moral obligation rather than even just rescuing our country to take advantage of this opportunity you come in, and hopefully at the point when others are exiting from frontier economies, we'll be calling ourselves very safe. We have our own Kenyans in the diaspora actually continuing to stay in this market. Thank you very much for your time.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Obara. So we'll just go straight into the panel. And I'll start with you, Mr. Gashahi of ABSA Group. Banks play an incredibly important role in the remittance ecosystem. How can banks support the vision to increase remittance savings and investments from the current 25 to 50%?
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Chairman. Very, very good question. And I did speak about participation of banks in nation building. And I think banks have a very, very strong role to play, especially because finance is the area in which, or is the rails through which remittances are then channeled back home. And as we've asked the question of how banks can double remittances from 25 to 50%, which in a sense would double, we're talking about $4 billion as at now to $8 billion. It's important to understand why the diaspora community sends money home, and then some of the challenges that they face when they send money, as they send money home. So as banks and as ABSA Bank, we are really proud to have seen the CBK commission a study with the diaspora just to understand what are some of the challenges they face, why do they send money. And incidentally, ABSA Bank also had commissioned a study back in 2019 in partnership with Ipsos. And the top 3 reasons that the diaspora community gave of why they send money home, number 1 is to remit money to their dependents. So that's a very important insight. The second biggest insight was also to be able to purchase property. So the whole issue around investment in property back home becomes a very key pillar. The last reason they gave was investments, general investments, and I'm glad we are talking about the CMA and how they enable more investments, including things to do with Sharia compliant investments. But it's also important to understand, above the reasons why they send, what are the reasons or the challenges that they have faced most. And we did this even by region. So we had people in North America say the biggest reason that they have a big challenge sending money home is they have transaction limits. So the financial institutions have a big role to play to lobby the regulator to expand some of those limits, because this money is coming through digital platforms. Banks don't have limits, but the reason they may not be using banks is also a big reason that they said they have a big challenge, especially with fluctuating exchange rates. And this is affecting most of the people in the African diaspora. So if you're in West Africa, South Africa, and you want to send money back home, the rate fluctuations are very heavy. I think the other big reason was also dishonesty. That came up quite a lot. The fact that you send money, but then when it comes in, it gets into the wrong hands and it's misused. High transaction charges are also something that has come up a lot. So to be able to then double remittances, we have to tackle those two areas. One is to plug into why people send money and invest in that area just to make it smoother. And number two, tackle those challenges that the diaspora community has represented. As Absa Bank, we have recently ventured into this area. So we launched Diaspora Banking in October this year. We've tried to align some of those issues because we come up with a digital way for the diaspora community to actually open an account as if they were here in Kenya. So wherever you are in the world, you're able to actually open an account from anywhere in the diaspora at any time, 24/7, end-to-end in under 10 minutes without any human intervention. So that manages the point around cost, dishonesty, because it's cost-free. You don't have to travel to a notary, you don't have to go to an agency to ship papers through DHL, and also time. You're able to do things quickly. The area around, also the point around also transaction limits is sorted because banks don't have transaction limits. So that means that then you can open an account and send money, as much money as you want. And the issue around exchange rates then also is sorted because we were able to open a shilling account, a dollar account, a pound account, and not just a current account, but also savings accounts in all those currencies. So that is how Absa, for instance, has solved for that, and we look forward to participating more into how we solve for the other needs and challenges that the consumers are having in the diaspora. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. That's very well elaborated. And one of the key functions, Simon, banks play is investment advisory on behalf of clients. So obviously, you've just mentioned that Absa Bank has a dedicated team to deal with the diaspora community. What are the learnings of this team in terms of the unique needs of the diaspora community? And maybe you might want to touch a little bit on the highly depreciated shilling. I don't think at the beginning of the year we'd anticipated a 25% decline of the shilling to the dollar. And how has that impacted the investing activity of the diasporans?
Thank you, Chairman. I think a very, very important question, because that pillar of investments that I mentioned, why people are sending money, is actually covered in the question that you have asked. And investments is pretty interesting because the diaspora community sending $4 billion a year have been very, very hungry to get other or alternative investments, right? They want to go into the share market, they want to go into bonds with the government, they want to go into even fixed deposits. But the big challenge we've faced, or they've faced, is a level of advice. So we've not had enough expertise in the market to be able to have people speak to them. So they're able to open an account over time, but then are they being advised that if you have, say, $100, you can put $20 in real estate, put $40 in the capital or in the Nairobi Stock Exchange or Securities Exchange, and put the rest possibly in a bond, right? And then for those bonds that you put in, are you able to layer them so that they give you cash flows to enable you then meet the obligations you have, maybe to remit remittances back to your dependents back home? Now, those are some of the ways in which we are solving for the investments problem. So as banks, we continue to participate in the investments field. And as Absa specifically, we have a whole team of about 35 investments or relationship managers who we've trained in partnership with the Nairobi Securities Exchange. We've certified them through CC, in 2022, and we continue to give them more higher levels of training. Last year we did 40 of them, including the support team behind them. This year we are doing 53 of them, which then means we have the capacity not just to receive your money into ABSA or into the bank account, but also to be able to advise you on how do you put that money, in what portfolios do you put that money, and how do you structure it so that it meets your needs. I think that's a very, very important issue or way that we are solving for that need. Advice, not just opening an account, but also getting the value of advice to the team of relationship managers. And that's for free. The other key problem you've stated, the issue around currency, is also quite a big point, Chairman, because for Kenyans, it's a big challenge, and we've seen a lot of people run to the dollar. I think the newspapers today or yesterday said bank deposits have really grown on the dollar side because people are trying to avoid the impact of the shilling on actually their capital or wealth. But looking from the other side, it means each dollar that you own can actually give you more shillings, almost 30 more shillings per dollar, which means then acceleration of their ability to purchase here based on the fact that they're actually earning more, whether it's on the dollar or the pound, right? And we've seen more and more people then yearn to actually bring remittances into Kenya. I think the big challenge on the flip side is that the slowdown of the economy then puts a gloom, and we've heard about worries about the economy, about our debt situation and all that. So that also is an area of challenge for them. But how we are solving for this is in giving them information as banks and participating in that knowledge corridor, because without that knowledge, then they're definitely going to have a challenge in trusting and being able to bring here. So I see banks having a very big opportunity there to educate the diaspora community and also ensure that we are creating platforms for them to understand how to structure their investments and ultimately achieve their dreams of participating back home. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you very much. Mr. Kibe, as a market participant, what are some of the value chain projects that are suitable for diaspora financing? And maybe also give us an insight into some of the key concerns that the diasporans have in terms of their investment journey, when they bring their funds in, invest, and also exit their investments.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think the most important understanding is the ability to come to the stock market. And our stock market, as explained by our regulator, is quite diverse. We have very many products. Our key point today is to encourage people to come into the bond market. We have a very vibrant bond market, one that is very liquid, right, compared to our peers regionally. We have government bonds and two types of government bonds that are available: the normal vanilla fixed bond, and you have the infrastructure bond. And I think that is where our focus is. The difference is simply one enjoys the tax holiday, and that is the infrastructure bond. Also, the other difference is also that one, you get the normal bond, you get a bullet payment at the end, and then the infrastructure bond, you get amortized payments, as you approach maturity. Then also the other difference is that the government issues bonds, normally as we preach this every day, for budgetary, to seal the budgetary gaps. So in this particular case, you have specific projects that the funds go towards. So one to note is that we have great appetite for infrastructure bonds, number one, because of tax holiday. One closed yesterday actually with a performance of 188%. That just goes to demonstrate that there is a lot of appetite for our government debt, particularly the infrastructure. Then secondly, we have corporate bonds. Any company, right, can be, of course, after the approval or regulator, can issue a bond. Recently, we had Family Bank issue 8 billion, EABL as well. EABL as well issued 12 billion at 12.5%. Then we also have a different category of bonds called municipal bonds. I have seen counties here. I've seen Kakamega County. I think I've seen Taita Taveta. In the last regime, we had Laikipia. They wanted to issue a bond. Sorry. they wanted to issue a 2 billion bond. All right, this is simply again to cover their budgetary deficits. That is another element where you people in the diaspora can tap into that. Government bonds are risk-free, all right? The issuer being a sovereign, and if you talk about corporate bonds, municipal bonds, and green bonds, sorry, I'm struggling with this, and green bonds, you will end up getting a margin better than the risk-free. However, as an investor, 98% of investors concentrate with government bonds simply because of the risk elements. Then lastly, we have sukuk bonds that has been mentioned as well. This is to take care of Islamic financing. They are Sharia compliant, meaning that they don't attract interest, what we call la riba. They commoditize basically a project or a product, and what happens is you participate in a share of profit outside interest. And this is as well for inclusivity, just to make sure that everyone participates in our debt market. One of the main reasons we're here as well is to demystify one narrative, that investors in government bonds or debt market are institutions. We have, as it is right now, other investors, that is SMEs and individual private wealth coming into the market to the tune of 11% of the total government debt. Our target is to make sure that 11% grows to 20, 25, 30% in the next 3 years. How do we get there? Is to make sure that we get information out there, we have people understand, we have people come to the market easily, and that is what NSC and our regulator here encourage every day. We want to make sure that you have information. Information asymmetry is one of the big issues. People there as investors locally or people at the diaspora do not have the information that you can come to the capital market directly. When you go to your banks, and they'll give you 7, 8% in deposits, all right? Exactly what they do with that funds is they bring the money to the capital markets, reinvest, get 15, 18%, give you back your 8%. What you're trying to do is to show you access, that you can come directly to the capital market and participate in the 18% or 17% opportunities that are available. Equally, as Securities Africa, we give information for free. We do research, we give enough research, we tell you what is trending, investment opportunities that are there. We come up with a balanced fund for you. We show you how much, depending on your risk appetite or risk portfolio. We show you how much you can invest in. Opportunities are available in the bond market, in the equities market. Right now, the last infrastructure bond earns you 17.93%. We have also high-yielding stocks that will give you 13.9%. If you talk about Stanchart, if you talk about Copbank, will give you 13.21%. We also show you opportunities in short-term funding or short-term investment, be it money market. We're talking about T-bills earning you 15.5%, all the way up to a one-year T-bill that will earn you 15.72%. Opportunities that are there in the stock market without necessarily going through financial institutions that you end up not knowing probably even what your money goes to. One thing that our capital markets encourage is transparency. All these products I'm talking about are regulated products, and that's why I'm here as a licensee of CMA. These are regulated products, and therefore we are very transparent when it comes to what you invest in, where your money goes. So bonds as a product, or bonds as an investment for you, will give you better returns. As it is right now in high interest rates environments, you're able to get that 17%. Yesterday, I think we got another new information from Central Bank that the base lending rate went up by 2.5%. That means again there are better opportunities going forward in the next couple of auctions. Fixed income security, what we call bonds, will give you steady income. When the government tells you that you're getting 17.93% for the next 6 years or 6.5, that means that is a contract between you and the government. You have you can account for your 17.93% for the next 6 years. The prospectus is very clear, again in the spirit of transparency, that you get your return, what you call interest or coupon, every 6 months. Now, as Securities Africa, we can tailor-make a product for you, a bond fund for you. If your intention is to get consistent income streams, we ladder a portfolio of bonds that gives you interest every other month. Then secondly, you can use bonds as a collateral.
Let me ask you a question.
Yes, sir.
You know, there's a dual dynamic. Well, Karibu, Madam Pierce. I've just seen you walking in a few minutes ago. Karibu Sana. I have a question for you, Mr. Kibe. There's a dual dynamic of high interest rates in the developed markets. We know that in the United States, for example, people are getting returns of up to 8% on their securities and on their investments. And that has led to a big flight of capital from the frontier markets, Kenya included. That combined with the rapidly depreciating shilling, would you say confidently that the products that we have in our capital markets are competitive or commensurate to what these diasporans would get in the markets where they live and operate in? If you could kindly give us that answer in just 2 minutes.
Yes, I must say those are the few challenges that, of course, we encounter every day. The first question, and that has been answered by ABSA, is the issue of the sliding currency every other day. The other issue also is that do you compare the 4.8% that a 10-year gives you in the US relative to the 17.93 that you get in our local market? It's an issue of risk. A local investor will view that return as handsome, being 17.9. A Kenyan in diaspora, it is way better than what you get there in 2 terms. If you send your contribution here locally, and your intention is to consume or use that amount of money or cash flow you get here, then you're better off getting that 17.9% local here, combined, relative to the 4.8% you get to a 10-year there. So I'll still advocate, all right, I'll advocate for people to invest locally and invest in our government debt, given that variance.
Thank you very much. Mr. Obara, over to you. From the statistics shared on diaspora remittances, is there room for the remittances to be, for additional funding to be channeled to our capital markets in Kenya? And what are the plans to create a more vibrant securities market and capital market in Kenya?
Okay, thank you. I think there's a lot of opportunity, but first let me just buttress something around the returns. When you're talking about 5% yield in the US, it is also against an inflation rate of around 4%, 3%. So in actual real return terms, could be less than 1%. But here we are talking about a situation where yield has gone up against a declining inflation rate. So you do your 18% and you subtract 6%, it's still giving you a real return of 12%. So in Africa, it's among the highest in terms of real return currently. But on the opportunities and what we have in the capital markets, and I think that's an area that has not been talked about, that is on the sustainability space. I think few of you may be aware, for example, that you have tax exemption, very much like you have in an infrastructure bond. If you issue even a corporate bond that is green. So if you do a green bond like Akon did, if you did a D-REIT, that's a real estate investment trust, that has a sustainability component, from the yield or the returns that you're going to get from the same, you are not taxed. So in terms of the incentives that we are, other than the products, is really how much you're going to get in terms of your disposable income. And that's why we are really fighting towards trying to remove or reduce tax rates from returns that are earned from the same. The other area that I think we really need to look at as the next horizon, again, is in the area of fintech. And particularly if you combine it with collective investment schemes. What we have been doing through what we call the Pool Funds Committee that brings together the retirement benefit schemes, the collective investment schemes, and all these other institutions that pool funds together, is try to leverage technology so that you can be able to buy a unit in a unit trust, or because you talked about real estate investment trust as one of the largest, the biggest source of transfer of funds. If the real estate investment trust is packaged, the real estate is packaged into a real estate investment trust using technology, then you can be able to buy from the comfort of your phone. So on the area of technology, what we are doing is, because there are apps that have been developed by most of the market players, the CDSC has an app, the NSC has an app, CMA has an app. There's a broad app that's used by investors called the Dosika. What we are doing is to make sure that we integrate all these apps together. So that, and if I'll just take a step back, when His Excellency came to the stock exchange immediately after he was sworn in, he talked about his vision being for hustler to be able to access the stock exchange from the comfort of their phone as they're waiting for the next customer. Now, what we envisage to do, and I believe that Diaspora will also benefit from this, is that you're going to get into an app where you are registered, you're onboarded. So just from your phone, we're able to do KYC, all that. You're onboarded. Then you are able to access your broker through the broker app. Then from the broker app, you're going to move to the automated trading system of the Nairobi Securities Exchange, which will also be connected to the Central Securities Depository of that's the corporation, that's the CDSC, or the CSD DAO, the one at the...
Yeah.
So,
Mr. Barra, if I may, you touched on sustainability, and I think that's a very topical issue, especially right now with the COP28 in its in session. Many investors globally today have indicated that they will not place their investments in companies or in instruments that are not compliant. And for example, BlackRock has said that by the year 2030, they will make no more investments in companies that are heavily reliant on fossil fuels. As a regulator, what is the Capital Markets Authority doing to ensure compliance? Because I'm sure many of these diasporans come from those developed markets where those high standards have been set. Do we have those standards that will also attract these diasporans and also other international investors?
Yeah, thank you very much. I think we have always been a proactive regulator. And as early as 2019, we had already come up with a policy guidance note. That's a regulatory tool that supports issuance of green bonds. And that is why we had, for example, Akon issue a very successful bond in the middle of the COVID. So what we've been doing over and above that, we realized that it was a limiting framework because it only addressed the issue of green finance. But sustainability is much, much wider when you're talking about the area of ESG. So what we are doing specifically to tap from that opportunity that's there for those who prefer sustainable products is to expand the horizon of the regulatory framework to go beyond green bonds. So effectively what we intend to come up with, our target as of June 2024 is to ensure that we have an ESG guideline. But over and above that, we are aware that there are standards that have been issued by ISSB, that's the S1 and S2, that harmonizes all the existing frameworks when it comes to sustainability. The problem that we have, or the challenge, is that there are so many different standards across the world. So if, for example, as a diaspora, you wanted to invest in a company that actually uses TCFD standards, GRI standards, whatever, you might be a bit hesitant and say, I'm not very comfortable with this standard. So CMA, in consultation with ISPAC, is leading in the adoption of a global harmonized standard on sustainability.
Okay, two direct questions.
Yes.
One, are we likely to see carbon trading under the ambit of yourselves as a regulator? And second question I wanted to ask you is there a likelihood that we will have mandatory ESG compliance for listed companies? Okay, on the question of carbon... I'm giving you just 1 minute because we'd like to pass the microphone to the floor.
All right. Yeah, I think on the area of carbon, it's very straightforward that ultimately there will be an instrument that needs to be created to be able to sell carbon credits. So we'll probably have an instrument called a carbon financial instrument, which must be traded in a carbon exchange. Now, as the regulator that oversights market infrastructure, we will possibly, or we are most likely going to be able to provide oversight on the establishment of such a platform. Whether it's going to be a centralized carbon exchange platform.
You. To the next question.
Yeah, the next question, okay, we are going to do it systematically. We are going to have it voluntary for a start because there are elements around capacity building on the same. There are elements about costs of complying because already many issuers are required to comply with corporate governance standards. We are bringing in much newer layers of compliance. So we need to be very careful. We are going to first advocate for voluntary compliance with those standards, but ultimately when the market is ready, we may have to consider this as mandatory standards.
Are you also I'll turn now to Mr. Gashahi. Just a final question before I pass the microphone. Capital mobility for any investor is absolutely crucial. If we have a diaspora sitting in New York, sending money home, and next year requiring that money back in New York, there are rumors that there is a challenge in accessing dollars in local banks. So in the event that they send their money here, take a position, say in Safaricom, make an arbitrage, maybe the Safaricom share goes from 11 to 14 shillings, and the investor would like to dispose the share and take it back to New York, put it in the NASDAQ for a bit, and bring it back next year into KCB, for example. Is there sufficient mobility of liquidity, or is there a challenge getting dollars out of Kenya?
Thank you, Chairman. That's a pretty interesting question because I think we are living in a very interesting reality where it's not only Kenya, but some of the countries, most of the countries are having that dollar shortage. While it's being addressed and we've seen a lot of improvement in that, capital mobility falls exactly into the area that I mentioned around supporting diaspora through advice, investment advice. And this conversation needs to happen not when you need the money back, but as you actually invest the money. So the expertise we have built, specifically in ABSA, through the trainings that we've taken our relationship management team through, working with the Nairobi Securities Exchange, is about the life cycle of investments. So that at the point that you're placing your investment, again, you structure it in a way that you're able to then have funds that you can liquidate, and there's a plan of how you liquidate those funds. In the event that you needed them from an emergency perspective, we always have provisions for those, right? And the other point is that we are also able to give a lot of anchorage, or you're able to use your investments to actually anchor that investment, be able to afford something like an overdraft. facility based on the investment that you have made, marking that up to 90% of the investment value that you have put across. So the key word here would be, for capital mobility is about planning, it's about investment planning, and it fits the whole point around that I made around being able to give advice to the client. So it's not just about remittances, it's not just about investment, it's about the investment classes, how you place your funds, and also how we plan ahead in terms of the mobility you may require in future on cash flows.
Yeah, thank you very much. So, ladies and gentlemen, you have the microphone now to the floor. You have a very competent panel in front of you, very well resourced team, and they have all the answers for you, I presume. So, any questions from the audience? Yes. If we have somebody who can take the microphone around. And we'll take Q&A for how many, 10 minutes? One more question, okay.
Hello, good afternoon. My name is to ask a question about the stock exchange, because I wanted to do an investment by CBK. I wanted to maybe put some money in it for investment. And I went through online and I checked something called DOA CSD. And I wanted to know more about it before I proceed, so that maybe I can invest in a better way. Thank you.
Maybe I'll ask Mr. Kibe to answer that. One more question? Over there. And due to the time limitation, we'll just have those two questions answered and then we shall close the panel.
My name is Songa. I have a question with respect to the Dubai and MENA region diaspora, probably directed to the gentleman from ABSA. I practiced there as a lawyer for 4 years before I came back home. And the constant problem I saw from Kenyans who don't have very high-paying jobs is they can't access loan facilities there because they are looked at as security people, house managers, and those kind of jobs. But when you look at their income, if you are a bank and you're interested in helping these Kenyans save back home, I see an opportunity for a long-term mortgage or any other way where you can save for something less than, say, 50 to 20,000 shillings. Say 50 to, say, 70, between 50 to 70,000 shillings. This is just feedback from what I used to receive. You know, you're in a restaurant and you tell somebody you're a lawyer from Kenya, and they're like, I've never even met a lawyer from Kenya. We want this information, the information gap you're talking about. So I can actually relate. So my question is, why don't we have Kenyan banks giving long-term facilities, say 20, 25 years, where a combination of rent and the income from these low-income earners is actually able to sustain this remittance back home through the purchase of these particular units, and maybe part of the rent can be used to sustain their families if that is the issue. Because I remember having a discussion with Family Bank, and they only give 20-year tenure for their commercial facilities.
I think the question has been heard. We can get them responded to. So, Mr. Kibe and Mr. Gashahi.
Thank you very much, Chairman. So the DAO CSD came not so long ago, 3 months ago. It replaced the old CDS account. So previously, you needed to go to Central Bank and open
Nino has got its own effects, and of course COP and several other things, so we're very delighted. We don't take it for granted before that she finds time to be with us. Before I say a few remarks, a very good friend of the diasporas for a very long time, we are the older generation, Dr. Ezekiel Mutua. As I call him, I'm alive to the fact that the government's bottom-up economic transformation agenda better has prioritized 5 sectors. Of course, number 1 is food security. Number 5, which is the babies where we play in the space, the digital and creatives industry. And there are not so many gurus in this world. So give a round of applause to Dr. Ezekiel Mutua, former CEO, KFCB, now CEO of Music Copyright Society of Kenya. Dr. Ezekiel, please.
Thank you very much, Shem. Our chief guest, PS Roslyn Jogu, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, in the interest of time, and of course, my mentor, Bwana Kiprono Kitoni. We have worked together in the media sector, in the Media Council of Kenya, and I admire his leadership. I am Ezekiel Mutua, as you've heard, and I'm the CEO of the Music Copyright Society of Kenya. Before, I used to be the CEO of the Kenya Film Classification Board, where the media nicknamed me the moral cop. So people still refer me with the regulation of films, banning this and banning that. Actually, I never banned anything. I was just creating a national conversation so that parents and every one of us can take action and protect our very important sector. Protect our children, but more importantly, ensure that as we build the physical infrastructure, we do not forget the software of our nation, our moral values. Because Kenya has done so well with the hardware, but the software, our discipline, our moral fiber, our behavior, our manners is rotten. And I think right now, people are thanking me for having raised that conversation, but I think we need it more. We need more moral champions to speak about the importance of building character, inculcating moral values in our children through film, through music. And I'm so blessed to be in this space where even as CEO of Music Copyright Society of Kenya and the creative economy in general, we can use our artists to re-engineer that moral conversation through songs, through our stories. Our stories matter. Ben Okri, a Nigerian poet, said, if you want to poison a nation, poison its stories. Because a demoralized nation tells demoralized stories, negatives, skepticism. And you can see it happening right now. Even with all the hard work the government is putting in place, we are so skeptical. We are like, what a mess. And nobody's seeing the light. And I want to tell you, there is no easy way, there are no shortcuts to life. We have built a system where through betting and gambling, and I have no problem with that if it's done for adults, but we have taught our people there are quick fixes to life, and there isn't. It takes hard work, perseverance, and we've got to sacrifice to live a better life tomorrow. It's an honor to be here today. Thanks, Shem, and your team. These are the unsung heroes of our society, and we honor you. Please give them a round of applause. Dr. Shem Ochodho, your resilience, tenacity, and resolve and commitment to get this going year in, year out, with or without sponsors, with or without government. You are amazing. And let me say through Dr. Shem Ochodho and the Diaspora, Kenya Diaspora Alliance, this is the reason why we have Madam Roslyn Jogu here, our PS. They contributed greatly to the policy formulation that established the Diaspora Department at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and for it to be renamed what it is today. So we honor you. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. God bless you. I'll be talking more about the creative sector in the afternoon or tomorrow. I'm here with you. Asanteni sana.
Another round of applause to Dr. Ezekiel. Thank you. I've said he's detained, he's not going to leave here. I'll shortly be inviting Madam PS to come, but I want to invite a few colleagues just to come so that as soon as the PS, the chief guest, delivers her speech, we take a little photo. Madam Catherine, I know the boss is here, he's my boss as well, But I want to request you just to come over, if you don't mind, to the podium, if you're able to. Sorry for ambush. I'll also request for the diaspora leaders who are in the House, President Kenya Diaspora Association, Germany, and it's not by coincidence. Please, you can come through the stairs this side. Sorry for the ambush, and thanks, I hope with permission of Mr. Wolfram, so you please take a seat at the second left. Bwana Kirui Simon, give them a round of applause as they come over. In case CEO Mivida, the representative, our major title partner, if he's being called, if he's around, for the private sector just to come around. Last but not least, DG Ethiopia Diaspora Services Authority, stroke agency. Give Daktari a round of applause as he comes over. Please just come over as I say a few words. And as I say a few words, mine just 2 words. But give Chairman a round of applause, Bwana Kitonyi, as he steps aside. I'm hoping that, Ambassador, you can escort him and also see 1 or 2 booths as he goes out. Mine, Madam PS, just 2 brief ones. One, as Kenya Diaspora Alliance, we are extremely committed over the next 2 years to restoring trust deficit. A number of diaspora friends I talked to tell me, Shem, let's talk about anything else but not investing in Kenya. There are some of those who believe every Kenyan is a con man. We just want to defraud them. Now, this is the imperative as Kenya Diaspora Alliance, working with government at both levels, national and county level, and the corporates, and you are in this house, and other sectors, major sectors of the economy, and the diaspora formations, diaspora associations. We are keen to change that narrative that, yes, there are a number of very honest, high-integrity people in this country and in this continent, and we must make sure they become the majority by restoring trust, the trust deficit. Second, and my final point, today is not my day to speak when the chief guest is here. Madam PS, we do know the role is heavy. For some of us who have been in the journey long, 30 plus years, we pushed a lot for a diaspora desk, and we were lucky and happy to get one. We didn't give up. We pushed a lot for a diaspora directorate. We are lucky and happy we got, and we must give compliment to the Kenya Kwan's administration. We've been pushing for a diaspora ministry. We got half a loaf. Please give the government a round of applause. We've been requesting so that the Ministry of Foreign be renamed Foreign and Diaspora Affairs, and we have achieved that. But the diasporas are saying maybe we are not stopping there. We probably expect a lot more to be given to the State Department. We do appreciate what has already been given. As we say, half a loaf is better than none. But maybe we should request government to consider giving us a full ministry, perhaps with 3 state departments, so that, because I'm sure, Madam PS, the way you have to run around, you know, I empathize. I wonder how you cope, because people in Indonesia want you, people in Qatar want you, people in next door, my second home, Chigali, they also want you. So obviously a lot more needs to be done, and that's our request, that maybe in future when there's opportunity, let's have a full ministry with 3 state departments at least, so that the work is a little shared. But otherwise, without much ado, yes, the team at the front is ready. As I invite the chief guest to come over, give Madam Roslyn Jogu a round of applause. Karibu sana, Madam.
Okay. Thank you very much, Dr. Shem Ochuotho, for inviting me here, and for the organizers of this committee, of this amazing event. I am aware that this is the 10th annual Diaspora Homecoming Convention. So allow me first to adopt the protocols that have already been observed and stand on those, but to thank you, Daktari, for inviting me here, for the members of the executive and the leadership of the Kenya Diaspora Alliance, for distinguished delegates and members of the diaspora, invited guests, friends from private sector, old personal friends that I'm seeing in the room. Also really pleasantly surprised to see my friend, the Director General for the Ethiopian Diaspora Service, who I met in DC. I believe we were doing the same work for our respective diasporas in Washington, DC. It's really good to see you. Karibu Kenya, where we have the best coffee. I'm trying to start a war with you. Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. Is it afternoon? Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Hamjamboni. And Kenyans, I understand, who are streaming live from around the world, good afternoon from Nairobi. I'm delighted to be here for this 10th convention, which marks really the 10th consecutive session of this convention that brings together Kenyan nationals from all over the globe in a home environment to take stock of the milestones of the past 12 months and to plan for the next chapter for the next year. Karibuni nyumbani. We meet here today to create and expand networks, receive updates on opportunities both abroad, and some of that work has already begun, and at home. But most importantly, I think this platform is a melting point, or a melting pot, of acquired cultures, attitude, practices, technologies, things that we've brought from our homes, away from home, here in Nairobi. This conference, or homecoming convention really, offers us an opportunity or an important axis for converging before the dispersion, again, of many positive aspects, which once synergized will make us and our engagements more enriching and fulfilling. Last year, the convention was one of my very first official duties, official activities under the new administration. I believe I had been in office for 2 days when you invited me to come and open the convention, and I proudly stand here and confirm that we are now having discussions with our diaspora around the world on who they are, what they do, and how we can engage them more and involve them in nation building, and to see them as a distinct identity and partner in national development. A lot has happened in the last 12 months. In fact, at the State Department today, we are celebrating a year and a day of having been a State Department. It's okay, you can clap for us. So allow me to pause here for a minute and sort of tell you a little bit about what we've been able to do in the last 1 year. And some of the things that we've been able to do are welcome an incoming benchmarking visit from South Africa, who have come to understand and learn how Kenya is managing and succeeding at engaging its diaspora. So in just a few months of being in business, we've been able to attract friendly nations to come here for a benchmarking visit, and I think this speaks volumes of what we've been able to do, and I can tell you a little more about what we've been doing in the last 1 year. I'm glad that our aspirations are gaining resonance, and today in this convention, I'm told you have 6 broad themes around diaspora investment in the 47 counties, PPPs, youth entrepreneurship, employment and empowerment, talent, skill, knowledge management, and tech innovation, good governance, and diaspora representation, voting, and inclusion. I can confirm that these thematic areas speak broadly to the mandate of the State Department, whether it is around harnessing diaspora savings, facilitating FDI and technology transfer, whether it is mainstreaming the diaspora in the process of national development or the democratic process, or whether it is around finding opportunities for the diaspora for jobs abroad, which is part of our newly added tasks in implementation of the Global Labour Strategy. Dr. Chuatho, I'd like to inform you that even in the last month, I believe, the work of the State Department continues to grow. We have now, as at last month, had an expanded mandate. We started out with a 6-point mandate. We now have a 9-point mandate, so our work within the diaspora continues to grow. Not only that, we have our first semi-autonomous government agency. We have our first SAGA, that is called the Diaspora Placement Agency, and this agency is tasked with helping diaspora find job opportunities. Kenyans find job opportunities in the diaspora, and that is what we are set out to do, which, as I'm sure you're aware, is a big part of this government's focus. In the past 1 year, apart from setting up administrative structures and systems for the State Department, our emphasis has been engaging with the diaspora and their host governments across the world with the overarching objective of securing and setting up systems to structure our protection of their welfare and rights. A big part of our job, or what we consider the most important part of our work, is protecting the diaspora, is creating a strong foundation of the protection of rights and welfare of the diaspora. I think the sign language interpretation for protection is this. Yes? I like that. I like that. I also like that it is a sign for Wakanda forever. We've been able to do some important things. In the last 1 year, our work in creating and helping connect Kenyans with jobs abroad has grown. And the numbers are still out, but one of the things that I can speak to anecdotally, apart from the work that we've engaged with foreign governments, whether it is Germany or Canada, or a number of countries in the Middle East and so on, that continue to show not just promise, but actualization of jobs for diasporians who are looking for work. We continue to see huge numbers of people finding opportunities across various sectors within these countries. Something like every week, we have about 2,000 Kenyans moving to Saudi Arabia for work, for example, continues to be an important number for us to track. As government, we've also done important things around the work of food security, through working with farmers, of course, on the fertilizer program to ensure that inputs into the farming process become cheaper, and therefore being able to bring down the cost of living. And maybe one other thing that I'd like to mention is the Hustler Fund, which just celebrated its first year as well, and I mentioned that because of some of the comments that were raised by my learned friend around financing for diaspora. To note that in the last 12 months, 41 billion shillings have been lent throughout the Hustler Fund to something like 22 million Kenyans who have borrowed and repaid. So there exists a market there for private sector to think about, but also opportunities through Hustler Fund, and I think it is for us to think through how then we can deal with the Hustler diasporian. I'm happy to inform that through the engagements with the diaspora and the Farm Foundation we've created for the protection of rights and welfare of Kenyans abroad, we've done a number of things, and some of you have been beneficiaries of the mobile consular services, for example, in various countries. I see some of you from Germany. I saw Kirui somewhere, where we recently came from to offer services, and in the last 1 year, where we've done the mobile consular services as an RRI to bring government services closer to Kenyans, we have been able to serve more than 9,000 Kenyans in the comfort of their cities, and they have come out in large, large numbers throughout, I believe, something like, I want to say, would that be 20? Have we been to 20 countries yet? Would you say? About 20 countries so far. Some of the other things we've done have been to be a part of the successful evacuation of Kenyans from the Sudan during the conflict that broke out, and currently evacuation of Kenyans from Israel and Palestinian regions, which is ongoing. I'd like to pause for a minute as we are reflecting and note that apart from Sudan, apart from Egypt that shares a border with Sudan, we were the first country to get Kenyans home from the conflict in Sudan, which is a big thing, because very often people think that perhaps countries with larger resources and so on are the first ones to get their people home, and the coverage on BBC and elsewhere doesn't quite always cover what we've been able to do. And I actually want to thank the Ethiopian government. They were very helpful in helping Kenyans transit through Ethiopia to come home. And evacuations and repatriations of Kenyans who've been victims of human trafficking in various parts and in many Asian countries have also been done by the State Department and so on. We've been able to stabilize labor migrant concerns, particularly around issues of mistreatment and so on. And for those of you who've been keen, I think you may have noticed there has been a significant reduction of this kind of coverage of videos on social media, on TikTok, on YouTube, and so on. I think when I took office about a year ago, this is probably the biggest challenge that I walked into, and I am glad and I'm proud of my team to say that we've been able to stabilize that situation. So we want to continue this discourse with you so that we can continue together to walk forward. We take feedback, as you know, and one of the things that we have noted, and I'm glad ABSA and other banks and remittance companies are here, one of the things that we've noted consistently from the diaspora is the concern that the cost of sending money home continues to be high. We continue to engage you to see how we can make these corridors faster, more efficient, make it cheaper for Kenyans to send money home. We've engaged a number of you. We engaged the CBK, for example, and even as the experts engage, you're aware, and I'm glad people talked about it, including somebody who's looking to invest. One of the things that the CBK launched, and we have owned that product probably more than the CBK themselves, is a DAO CSD, which is, as you know, the online app or web platform through which you can participate in government treasury bills and bonds in the sale and exchange and so on from the comfort of your phone. We continue to engage CBK to see how this product can be even more diaspora responsive, as the President has asked. So as a department, we continue to engage key stakeholders to create more incentives for the diaspora. Ladies and gentlemen, you're aware that we are celebrating our 60th Independence Day next week. Let me start by saying congratulations and happy birthday, Kenya? Happy Jamhuri Day, Kenya, next week. And as we do that, I want us to be part of changing the narrative, not just of what Kenya can do and who Kenya is in the world, but also in terms of what the diaspora can do for this country and what we can do for this country. I want us to together walk a journey of changing that conversation. I said that in the first year, we have been involved heavily in stabilizing welfare rights, the consular situation. We believe that that is fairly stable now. And having stabilized that, I want to invite you then, diaspora, on a different journey. Now that we are 60 years old, I want to invite you on a journey that asks you, now that we are stable, now that we're in a good place, now that we are 60 years old, what's the next level of engagement? Countries that have relied on and have taken their diaspora seriously have been able to reap big fruits, is that what you say? Been able to reap well. I have in mind countries like Ireland that relied heavily on their diaspora post-2008, 2009, global financial crash of the markets, were able to rely heavily on their diaspora, and because of that, they were able to stave off the worst impacts of that recession and come out strong. In the last few years, I'm sure you're aware that Ireland is now a strong economy, particularly as far as hosting many tech companies. I was in Ireland a month ago, and I met several Kenyans who now work there, and are a very impressive, small but very impressive diaspora. And in the last 2 or 3 years, they informed me that about 1,000 Kenyans, software engineers, computer scientists, and others with tech qualifications have moved to Ireland and work for Amazon, for Facebook, Meta, Comcast, and so on. And much of this work was done because of the reliance and the leveraging of their diaspora. I have in mind countries like Israel. I have in mind countries like India that have built their huge health systems largely by the diaspora. With that in mind, Wakenya wenzangu, I want to invite you to do 4 big things. I want to invite you on a journey to invest back home, because it makes sense, because your family is here, because you understand the investment opportunities here, because the returns are great. They were already, some of them were enumerated here a little bit earlier. Returns as guaranteed returns of 17%, for example, 18%, close to 18% on the current, I believe, infrastructure bond, among others. The returns are great, but also because that risk that you talk about doesn't exist for you. You're a Kenyan. It's not the same as me telling Norwegians to invest here. You're already a Kenyan. So talking about that kind of risk is neither here nor there. But it's also increasingly easier to do so. I listened as they enumerated the different number of apps that are available to you to be able to invest in the NSC, to invest in treasury bills, to invest in various capital markets, CMA, what am I trying to say? Money markets and capital markets opportunities. It is easier to do that. I want you to move increasingly, or to diversify your portfolio, so that our conversations are not purely about land. Land is good. Kenyans are a little bit obsessed about land, and that's okay. But there's many, many more opportunities out there. And even if you're investing in land, we now have platforms such as Artifisasa, where you can actually check for yourself and investigate, find out who actually owns the land that you're trying to purchase, and work with lawyers. Please work with lawyers so that you do not come back later and tell us long stories about yule uncle yako mtukutu ambaye ulimtumia pesa. So I'm inviting you to invest back home. The story of our remittances is such that the bulk of the money you send home goes to school fees, rent, taking care of family, medical bills. A really large sum goes to funerals. And we all know this. We are all in WhatsApp groups every week, where you just added into our WhatsApp groups, and so has died. We are contributing money to give them a fitting send-off, and so on, right? But we want you to be able to send money home for investment. The second thing I want to invite you to do is to be involved in what we are calling the diaspora in trade. You're already in these markets where we are trying to push Kenyan tea, Kenyan coffee, Kenyan nuts, flowers, services. Help us open up those pathways to enhance trade of our goods and our services in all of these places. We think of the diaspora as a two-way valve. You allow our goods and services to go out because you're already out, and you bring in tourism, you bring in investment, and so on. You support the outflow and the inflow. And we are here to work with you and support you on that endeavor. The third thing I want you to do is to ask yourself, with everything I have seen and I have learned, with all of the different things that I'm picking out from where I currently live, what can I do for my country? Let me put it this way. I'm a parent, and I have in this new phase of interaction, I'm inviting you to think together with us and think about technology transfer. What is the thing that you're going to bring us? Is it a new way of doing public transport? Is it banana wine, where our Kenyans in Uganda? What is the thing that you're going to bring us? So we are calling on you to come up with these innovative approaches to harness these, and we will work with you. And the fourth thing I'm asking you to do, we have been tasked with finding opportunities for Kenyans abroad. Be a part of that movement and help us find opportunities for Kenyans. Kenyan talent, as you know, is fantastic. I don't need to tell you, you are Kenyan talent, you already know this. And in a lot of the places where you work and live, this talent is badly needed. I hear this from ambassadors and from others coming to meet with us, asking how can we get Kenyan health workers, how can we get Kenyan waiters, waitresses, chefs, how can we get Kenyan techies to come and work in our various industries. We might not be able to go everywhere, but where they're coming to work, they're coming to work in the companies that you already work in. Help us make those connections. We work closely with you, we work closely with county governments, we work closely with everybody to identify the needs for these opportunities and link them to you so that sometimes you're able to invest in Kabunzweni, if you're from Kabunzweni, you're able to invest in Kitale, if that is where you come from, you're able to invest in Nakoromone, if that is where you come from. We continue to, one of the things that we've been asked to do in our expanded mandate is to work on expanding diaspora's involvement in democratic processes. We know that the diaspora's petition to be able to increasingly vote and be a part of the governance of this country is one of the things that is in your heart and at your forefront, and this is something that we are also committed to being able to expand. As I conclude, Wakenya wenzangu, mabibi na mabwana, we look forward to building strong partnerships with all of our diaspora. I meet various groups, various associations, various diaspora meetings and so on, and very often there is a tug and pull about, if you meet with these people, you can't meet with us. If you meet with this community, you can't meet with us. If you meet with this association, you can't meet with us. Kenyans, please. Kenyans, please. Okay? Let's just, we're Kenyans. There's so many other things that can divide us, not which association I have, associations meeting I have attended, or who has taken a photo with me, or who is in which committee, and so on. You're all Kenyans. You're all my responsibility. And I don't even think about which associations you belong to, or I just want, do you hold a Kenyan passport? Do you hold a Kenyan ID? Are you a Kenyan? That's it. You're my responsibility. So we continue to work with all of our diaspora in the various ways that you have organized yourselves, and we encourage you to continue organizing yourselves in groups and associations. It is much, much easier for us to be able to extend activities to you. Finally, allow me to take this opportunity to invite you all next week to the Diaspora Investment Conference to continue the conversations that you're already having here. As you're aware, as you might know, the Kenyan Diaspora Investment Conference, slated for 13th to the 15th of December at the KICC, will bring together a number of you who are already in this room, those of you who will make it home over the weekend and can finally come to the KICC next week, and those of you who will also be attending virtually. The theme of this conference will be Bridging Borders, Building Futures to Jenge Kenya. So we intend to create linkages and networks between various stakeholders, various investment opportunities, and so on. Different stakeholders will be ready and at hand to share information so that we are not always just giving you information, but after here, you can actually go and make your investments. Finally, ladies and gentlemen, I've said that like a pastor or a preacher. I've said many finalies. Very, very finally, ladies and gentlemen, on our part as government, I can confirm and commit to you that we continue to work tirelessly and very hard to ensure that all Kenyans abroad are not just okay, but they thrive and they flourish. Because for us, our target is to protect, engage, empower, and prosper Kenyans abroad. With these not so few remarks, I wish you fruitful deliberations, and I don't know if we're supposed to declare this convention open. Okay, so I declare this convention officially open. Asanteni sana.
All right. Another round, befitting round of applause to Madam P.S. Thank you very much. The ball, just before I hand over to you, and I don't want to sit between us and it's time for a health break, but I'm detaining these colleagues over here. If the cameraman can come closer, as I invite, there is a young person related to Dr. Marcia from the US, if she's in the house, and I think I'm seeing in the house the Onyukas. Please give them a round of applause. If Marcia is not around, I want to request one of the Onyukas just come over, because a president, recently the KDA Global USA held the elections and elected Bob Nyangweso president, KDA Global US, but the dad is indisposed. He's based in Dallas, had to take the dad to Minnesota. Banonyuka, if you can come over, please, quickly as we take this photo. And I'll be requesting everyone, when the ball is done, we'll be taking a photo in turn, if Madam Pierce allows. And I'll be requesting, okay, with permission, Madam Pierce is happy to take one or two questions. Please come over. Just come, you can, there is the stairs here. Yeah. Yeah, please, welcome over. So if you have a comment or question from Madam P.S., I think we'll restrict it to 2 in the interest of time. Yes, please. Any comment or question or, okay, yes. Okay, I think I can see, yes. Okay, now I can, the hands are many, we'll probably restrict it to 2, but let's start with Madam Onyuka there. Okay. I was looking at a youth with a question also, so that we, yeah. Yes, no, Madam Onyuka, you were starting, but if there is a youth who also wanted to ask a question or a brief comment, but please go ahead, introduce yourself, and then ask.
My name is Coletta Onyuka, right, residing in New Jersey, USA, but frequent, not visitor, but coming back home here. Madam P.S., asked us to ask ourselves, what do we bring to us, to Kenya? Like a child asks a mother, what will you bring for me? I just want to say that some of us went to the United States in our early 20s, and we got married there fortunately to me, my fellow Kenyan, and we have children there. And for me, I have 5. And these are Kenyan American, very talented children. Could you please forge a way to make use of their talent and make it easy for them to access these places where they can actually show you what they have? And they are interested in coming home. They are excited to have double home. So I'm just letting you know that that is an area where you can really work hard and tap the talents over there.
Right.
Thank you.
A round of applause to Mr. Nyuka. Thank you so much. Yes, the second, third, fourth generation diasporas, if you can bring it over this way for the final question. Since there is no youth who wants to ask a question or comment, give this Maggie. Yeah, some of them say, look, they may not be too keen on brick and mortar investments, but they are very tech savvy. So just brief, keep it to 30 seconds, please.
I think I'll go straight to the question. Very good remarks. I was doing the notes, actually, my friend. So I was doing notes for people who are watching online. Now, my question will be straight to the point. I'm actually an investment banker. I represent a few investment banks here. And being the voice of the diaspora, some of us who have one leg here and one abroad, for me, I will represent the North Americans, so the Kenyans and the US and Canada. Maybe, Madam PS, I'm hoping that, because I'm also sitting in the planning, we are hoping to have our very good friends at KRA. Up there, we call him Uncle Sam. Uncle Sam is the tax, the tax authority.
Yeah, maybe go to the question, Maggie.
What are the incentives that we can actually work together? Because now we are home. Some of us only come home in December. Can we engage the tax authority so that we come up with a collaborative way of taxing the investors that are abroad? Some of us who love our country to pieces, we want to invest, but many of the questions we are getting is around taxation, double taxation. I think this is the opportunity that we can engage.
Maggie, we have to finish. A round of applause to Maggie. Thank you. So, Madam PS, you could respond to those as I consult with the bar.
Sure. Is this?
Yeah. I think you can use that, please.
I'll try.
Okay. So, yeah, the mic. Okay, this one seems to work. Okay.
All right. Thank you so much for those questions. I appreciate them. Opportunities for second-generation Kenyans. That's a good question. I want to say we are trying to structure our response and our engagement with second-generation Kenyans. It hasn't always been easy. One of the things we are seeing among that group of Kenyans is a crisis in mental health, for example. And you probably have seen this as well. And one of the things we are doing is trying to understand what is causing this crisis in mental health and for us to be able to respond to them. With the Ministry of Youth, we want to structure this response a little bit better. We haven't been able to do much. I'll borrow from the words of the Deputy President when he spoke to Kenyans in Rome a while back. I will not be quick to tell you that I have opportunities for your kids here. You heard me say that we are looking for opportunities for Kenyans there. Kwa hivyo kama wako na kazi ambapo walipo washikilie hiyo kazi. I will not lie to you. The opportunities here are, we have a youth bulge. I'm sure you're aware of this. The median age in Kenya is 19. The median age in places like Germany, Canada is anything between 44 and 49. And this is not unique to Kenya. It's the situation around the continent we have a youth bulge. So we have something that the world is looking for, which is talent, particularly around decarbonization or green energy, particularly around IT, and around, what's the third one I'm thinking about? Demographics, so healthcare and work that requires young people. So these opportunities exist. Now, we are happy to engage with the young Kenyans abroad in the same way that we engage with you. We want to speak to you and them about investment opportunities here. We want them to come home often and visit. We want them to learn Kiswahili and their mother tongue. And we want to encourage you parents to make sure that mnawaongelesha lugha ya taifa and you're speaking to them lugha ya mama au ya baba, so that they don't come home and tell us, I hear Luya, but I can't speak it. Okay, so we want them to be connected with home in various ways. We are learning from other countries that have done a deeper engagement with their youth, such as Rwanda, for example, and trying to see how we can deploy some of those things. So we welcome them. We want to engage with them. We want them to come home often. We might not necessarily have opportunities for them, although within the PSC, within the Public Service Commission, we do have, we do count Diaspora as the 48th county, so that when people are applying for opportunities, when they disclose that they're in the diaspora, they're considered as a separate county, and that gives them a bit of a leg up when they're applying. So that would be my answer for you. KRA incentives, this is the unending conversation, and I'm glad you bring it up. KRA has done a number of engagements with diaspora around customs, around income tax, and so on, and they continue to do this, and we publicize them when they do that. Next week, in the investment conference, KRA has a session where they'll be speaking specifically to taxation of the diaspora and incentives for investment for the diaspora. So we invite you to attend that. But let me also take the opportunity maybe to say that a lot of our concerns around double taxation and so on are often based on misinformation or lack of information. For example, we have anti-double taxation agreements with 16 countries, Canada, for example, and some of the other places where a lot of Kenyans live, which means that if you earn your income in Canada, you will not have it taxed here. Or if you have it taxed here, you get a credit on the other side. So a lot of these agreements already exist. Sometimes I will speak to diasporians and we are being taxed very heavily, and I'm paying tax in 2 places, and I know they're not, because sometimes this agreement is in existence, but there is a perception, and we as GOK could do more to give you this information, for sure. But this exists, and we are in negotiations for another, and I don't have my number here, but about 20 or more DTAs are currently being negotiated. So we are working to make it easier for diaspora to live and work abroad and to not pay taxes in 2 places. This is the position. Thank you.
Another round of applause to Madam PS. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Much appreciated. Madam PS, even as Madam PS was talking of diaspora bringing knowledge on maybe from Uganda, banana wine. Madam PS, I'm pleased to inform that the diasporas from Kisii County, with the support of GIZ, we do already, there's 10 products from banana, including banana wine, banana jam, sanitizer, essential oil exported to Dubai, and so on. Let's give them a round of applause to the diasporas. We want to take quick photos here. The presidents, please come over. Belgium, France, come and join us. If Madam Pierce agrees, we just take a quick photo, then we'll be inviting everybody. We take a group photo, then the ball will guide us on how we go out. As they come, please, if the cameraman, if you are close, I want you to request we take a photo as they do that. the self-introduce, beginning with Bwana Onyuka. So if we come together here, just do introduction, who you are, and then...
Good afternoon, everybody.
Right.
I'm Maurice Onyuka. I'm a Kenyan, but I'm based in New York.
Thank you. The Apple City. A round of applause to him. Thank you.
Okay, once again, I am Mohammed, the Director General for the Ethiopian Diaspora Authority, which is a semi-autonomous government organization accountable to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs with its own budgets and staffs.
Good evening, good afternoon. My name is Simon Kirui. I come from Germany. I'm a businessman, and I am also one of the organizers for the Diaspora. And the last thing you said, Madam P.S., that sometimes we don't encourage you. We want to say thank you. And we are appreciative of that, and we want to continue with the good work. Thank you.
Thank you. My name is Katrin Daum. I work for VDU Africa for GIZ. I'm very pleased to be here. Thank you so much.
My name is Ruth Owino, President Association of Kenyans in the Diaspora, Belgium and Luxembourg, and I work for the Embassy of Trinidad and Tobago in Belgium.
Good afternoon. Bonsoir. Bonjour. My name is Weldon Coril from Paris, France, and I'm the CEO of Comcop International Safety, Security and Risk Management. That's a non-profit organization for Kenyans in diaspora military veterans that brings together all the military veterans in all countries who have served to transfer skills back home, like the talents she was talking about. Thank you very much.
Hello, good afternoon. My name is Chris Ocheng. I'm the current president and chairperson of the Kenyan diaspora in the Netherlands. Thank you for welcoming us here in Kenya.
Thank you. Welcome, Chris. I didn't realize you'd gotten in. I want to request part of the WIDU team, Frida, if you don't mind, please just come over. And some of the guests, I don't know if we have a Mivida CEO or GM in the house, or Securities Africa. There is a stairs on this side, unless you are sporty. Give Frida a round of applause. I have a number of bosses. When Mr. Wolfram is not here, Frida is my boss. We do GIZ. A round of applause to Madam Frida. The other GIZ team, Stella, the other colleagues at the back, just wave that we acknowledge you. Thank you. So we have also county governments. So Kakamega County, Elizabeth, CEO, give a round of applause as she comes over. Taita Taveta, if they're nearby, maybe they're, give them a round of applause as they come over. Thank you. Right, and River, any of the county governments that we have, and of course their booths are already here. So, last but not least, I don't know if all of us will be standing down here so that we take the photo. And but for the private corporates, Moran Capital, if you can come over, we'll appreciate. If we have someone from Safaricom in the house, welcome, Excellency High Commissioner. Your seat is right here. Give our brother, my brother from the other mother from Barbados, a round of applause, Your Excellency High Commissioner. Please, your seat is over here. Okay. Thank you. Please have a seat over here. This is his seat. Karibu. Welcome so much, my brother. Thanks so much. And the staff of the Ministry State Department, Ambassador Boniface, if you're there, just wave and you can join us. And the technical team, I think the photographers, you are taking photos as we are talking. So I think we can move, okay? Thank you so much. Maybe in the interest of space, we will request if we can be upstanding here, all of us, just to take one group photo. then we'll be guided on the next steps. Debal, is that in order? Okay, give Debal a round of applause for allowing us to do that. Thank you. So please, Mr. Wolfram, Professor Teiji, please come over. There's space at the back. National Drought Management Authority, Amos, on behalf of Lieutenant Colonel, please, look, please, yes, please welcome over if you can, Balozi, if you don't mind, we'll ambush you to join us at the front. Yeah, so the rest of us, if we can come, just stand here as we take, photos are being taken. Maybe we can begin with the closer seats. Front row, Excellency, please escort Excellency to the front. Karibu. So please come over. The next table, please come over. Just find a space if we can stand here. Let's move quickly so that we save on time. Yeah. Please, the next second table, just come over. The third row, if we can come over. Just come. We want to take photos. Thank you. The fourth row, please just come over. Let's save time, please. Even if I don't acknowledge you now, we are going to acknowledge everyone. Please. Okay, let's come over the second last table so that we get some space. Thank you, thank you. Let's come over, everyone. Be part of this history in the making, being our 10th. Madam PS, we were delighted to note that even when COVID was at its height, 2020, the Diaspora Homecoming Convention still happened. A round of applause to everyone in the house. Basically, diasporas were telling the world Kenya is ready for business and business tourism, even amidst COVID. Please, let's spread out. There is enough space. Also on the other side, quickly, please, welcome. Reverend, please come over, okay? So we'll just count the bell. You know how to handle this best as I hand the mic to you. Karibu.
All right, this is the largest photo family I've ever seen in the entire of my life. Beautiful, and we hope that at least the camera and the photographers will be able to capture everyone, just to immortalize and solemnize, of course, this moment into history. Remember, this is the 10th anniversary, so we're marking 10 good years. Can you believe it, right? Since we started the first annual convention. So I want to thank every one of you for, first of all, being amazingly patient and know we are really pinched for time, looking at how the clock is really running down on us. But I want to thank you so much that you've been able to squeeze in a little bit of time. So even as we continue to take the photos, I just want to inform you that your meal vouchers are ready. So when you're exiting, the ushers will actually give you the meal vouchers. And our honorable guest, you'll use the door on my right to exit. The ushers are just ready there to receive you. And also for the exhibitors, your meal vouchers are available at your
Just hold on,
we are not done, as it were.
Just hold on, we are not done yet. Yeah, please, the bell, when you are done.
Yeah, just continue.
Thank you, much appreciated. Wambui, among the young people, we are glad you are here. Somebody is going to pray for the lunch, if that's okay. And if we have a reverend in the house, could do that. But as we do that, I want us to also say something, just in terms of recognizing the role the diasporas are playing. But who is going to pray for us? Okay? Zia Beja, please.
Let's pray. Our Heavenly Father, we thank you for what is going on here at the Kenya Diaspora Homecoming Convention. Thank you for the lunch that is before us. We pray that you bless everything that we are going to take, and Father, you will bless us even for the deliberations going forward. Father, we thank you and we bless your name. In Jesus' mighty name we pray.
Amen.
Amen.
As we break, there will be the deal room, so they'll be on the lookout for that. But I want us just to say, Diaspora Oye. You repeat Oye. Diaspora Oye. Diaspora Oye. Kenya government Oye. Africa Oye. Enjoy your lunch. Bon appetit. Thank you.
Thank you. So,
yes, Caribbean Oye. Oye. That's part of Africa. Indeed.
If we could take our lunch, I know good to enjoy lunch, but they always say that food is fun. But I will ask you if you can actually do that quickly so that we can save on time in the afternoon. I'll highly appreciate kindly. So could we kindly convene here at 2:30 if it's possible so that we can, please DJ please, could we kindly convene here at 2:30 so we could actually move on with the program, because we've missed one of the sessions as well, so we'll have it back to back in the afternoon. It could be tiring, but if you're on time, we can see how we can manage time. Thank you so much. Enjoy your food.
Tushangilie Kenya, taifa letu tukufu, Kenya tunayoipenda. Tushangilie Kenya, taifa letu tukufu, Kenya tunayoipenda. Kenya yetu tunayoipenda. Twajivunia sana tukijiita wa Kenya, nchi yenye baraka. Kenya makao yetu ni nchi ya usalama, kamwe hatutaiacha. Kenya makao yetu ni nchi ya usalama, kamwe hatutaiacha. Kamwe hatutaiacha. Anayependa Kenya ni yule mwenye kupenda haki kwa watu wote. Ni yule mwenye kupenda haki kwa watu wote. Haki kwa watu wote. Ukipenda Kenya ujitenge na mambo yenye kuvunja amani. Ukipenda Kenya ujitenge na mambo yenye kuvunja amani. Hatutaki matata Kenya. Hatutaki matata Kenya. Kenya kipenzi chetu, hatutaiacha milele na milele. Kenya kipenzi chetu, hatutaiacha milele na milele. Kipenzi chetu, nchi yenye upendo, hatutaiacha daima na milele. Kenya kipenzi chetu, hatutaiacha milele na milele. Kenya kipenzi chetu, hatutaiacha milele na milele. Mama yangu tena ni baba yangu, hatutaiacha milele na milele. Kenya kipenzi chetu, hatutaiacha milele na milele.
tick, one, tick. Yeah.
Nyako, ache nyako